Welcome to OOTO TV, the out-of-the-office investigation from the past into the future of health. This time we're discussing understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements.
We're really going to get into the details today, looking at osteoarthritis from, well, pretty much every angle.
Exactly. We want to give you a solid foundation, what it is, how it works, and then look at the treatments, both the standard medical ones and, importantly, the role of supplements and lifestyle.
It's a huge topic. We'll touch on things like creatine, collagen, turmeric, quite a few others. It's information that, honestly, understanding osteoarthritis, treatments and supplements significantly impact your health, sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect.
That's so true. And it really brings home that choosing the type vitamins and supplements for understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements is critical. You can't just grab anything off the shelf, can you?
Definitely not. And we have to remember, this isn't just about stiff joints. Understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements dependencies drive mobility and pain management that result in significant mood swings for so many people. It affects everything.
It really does. It's a whole mind-body connection. That's why understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements exponentially leverage mental and physical interaction. It's this constant interplay.
Which, in turn, means that understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements interaction require that you manage your diet specifically for your needs to both create and become smart and relaxed. It's about supporting yourself from the inside out.
Absolutely. And ultimately, understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements dependencies requires you to have a health plan, diet and daily eating, and sleep routine and process to provide the desired result for health. It's about the whole picture.
So let's start building that picture.
Yeah.
What exactly are we talking about when we say osteoarthritis, or OA?
Okay, so fundamentally, OA is a chronic condition. It's, debilitating for many, and it's mainly about the breakdown, the degeneration of joint cartilage.
That's the sort of firm, rubbery stuff that caps the ends of our bones in a joint.
Exactly, it's the cushion. And when it wears away, you start getting bone rubbing on bone. That causes damage, inflammation.
And the body tries to compensate, doesn't it? Sometimes with that bone overgrowth or remodeling you mentioned.
Right, which leads to the symptoms people feel: the pain, the stiffness, sometimes swelling, what doctors call edema, and just generally less ability to move the joint easily.
And a key point here, I think, is that while you can manage the symptoms, the underlying joint deterioration itself is unfortunately considered irreversible.
Yeah, that's a tough reality. But understanding how healthy cartilage should work is pretty amazing, actually. It's designed to reduce friction, absorb shock.
It's incredible. A lot of that is down to its water content, isn't it? Like 65 to 85% water.
Which allows it to change shape, move fluids around for lubrication and nutrients.
Yeah.
And because there are no nerves in there, that squishing doesn't hurt.
And the cells doing the work, the chondrocytes, they're only a tiny fraction, maybe 2 to 5%. But they're constantly making new collagen and proteoglycans, cleaning up the old stuff.
Collagen, that's the main structural protein, right? The building block. Type 2 collagen is the big one in cartilage, forming this mesh network.
And woven into that mesh are proteoglycans, those protein-sugar combos that grab onto water. That's what gives cartilage its resilience, its ability to bounce back.
So in OA, this whole elegant system starts to fail. The collagen and proteoglycans get depleted over time.
And specific enzymes get involved, like MMP's matrix metalloproteinases, which actually chop up the collagen.
And things like interleukin-1, IL-1, that ramps up the breakdown process too.
But it's not all destruction, is it? The body does try to fight back with anti-inflammatory signals and growth factors trying to repair things.
It's a complex battle happening at a microscopic level. Really makes you appreciate the design. So given this breakdown process, what do traditional medical treatments actually do?
Well, the standard approach, guided by groups like the American College of Rheumatology, is mostly about managing symptoms. Palliative relief, really.
So we're talking about things like acetaminophen, NSAIDs, those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, either pills or creams.
Right, or tramadol for pain, sometimes corticosteroid injections directly into the joint. And they almost always recommend non-drug things too, like weight loss if needed, or aquatic exercise.
But these standard drugs, especially the NSAIDs, they come with baggage, don't they?
They certainly can. NSAIDs are notorious for causing serious GI problems, ulcers, bleeding. Often people need another drug, like a proton pump inhibitor, just to manage the side effects of the first drug.
And some types, the COX inhibitors, have been linked to increased risks of stroke and heart attack.
Yeah.
It really puts people in a difficult position.
It absolutely does. It highlights that need for safer, effective options because people are weighing this risk-benefit every single day, and that definitely feeds into the mobility issues and mood swings we talked about earlier.
You're listening to OOTO-TV with research by author Paul Bulow.
Which brings us nicely to the world of dietary supplements for OA. It's a huge market, isn't it?
Huge and growing fast.
Yeah.
But the regulation is interesting. Under the DSHEA Acts from '94, supplements can say they affect the body's structure or function, but they absolutely cannot claim to treat or prevent a disease like OA.
And the onus is on the FDA to prove something is unsafe, not on the company to prove it's safe or effective beforehand.
Which, when you consider a market size of, what, $30 billion in the U.S. alone, with maybe 90,000 different products, that leaves a lot of room for variability.
And that's the major contrary point here. Product quality is a massive issue. You might not be getting the ingredient you think you are, or the right amount, or worse, it could be contaminated.
I remember reading about studies like one on glucosamine, where the actual amount in the capsules varied from about half to almost 140% of what the label said.
Exactly. And another on chondroitin found most products failed to meet their label claim, with many having less than 40% of the stated amount. It's shocking, really.
It just hammers home that point.
Yeah.
Choosing the type of vitamins and supplements or understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements is absolutely critical. You need to be so careful.
Okay, let's look at a specific supplement, one that might surprise some people in the context of OA creatine.
Yeah, usually associated with athletes, bodybuilders, increasing muscle mass, strength. But there's more to it, isn't there?
There really is. Beyond muscle and maybe even bone benefits, there's fascinating research on its anti-inflammatory effects.
Like in those animal studies where it reduced swelling almost as much as an NSAID.
Right. Both injected and oral creatine showed those effects. Even its breakdown product, creatinine, seemed to reduce inflammation in arthritis models. It's quite remarkable.
And in humans. After intense exercise, it seemed to lower those inflammatory markers like prostaglandin E2 and TNF-alpha.
Yes, and IL-1 beta as well, plus reduced markers of muscle damage. Even in soccer players, after tough sprints, it lowered TNF-alpha and CRP, another inflammation marker.
And what about bone? You mentioned anti-catabolic effects.
Yeah, it seems to reduce the breakdown of bone. One study showed it lowered NTX excretion, that's a marker of bone resorption, by about 25% in older men doing resistance training.
So that could explain why it helps slow bone density loss in postmenopausal women doing resistance training.
Potentially, yes. And it showed similar effects in boys with muscular dystrophy. It really does broaden how we think about creatine, doesn't it? What's fascinating here is how creatine reveals such powerful anti-inflammatory and bone-protecting capabilities.
It definitely does. But we need the nuance, the contrary view, too. Some studies didn't find an effect on CRP, for example.
That's true. And very low doses without resistance training didn't seem to affect bone resorption markers either.
So the key takeaway seems to be that creatine can help reduce bone breakdown, particularly in older adults, but really only when it's combined with resistance training. It's not a passive fix.
Good point. Okay, next up. Collagen derivatives. Collagen is the main protein in cartilage, so supplementing with it seems logical, right?
The theory makes sense.
Yeah.
The idea is that these collagen bits, or hydrolysates, get absorbed and travel to the cartilage, maybe stimulating the chondrocytes to build new matrix.
And some studies actually show these peptides accumulating in cartilage after you take them orally.
There are two main types looked at, right? Collagen hydrolysate, CH, and undenatured collagen, UC.
Correct. And the animal studies, the in vivo ones, they look pretty promising. Across the board, studies on different types of CH and UC found they had a protective effect on cartilage, reducing destruction or promoting repair.
UC specifically seemed to help maintain knee function after injury in those studies.
And the human trials. Also generally positive, finding improvements in OA symptoms or quality of life, whether taken orally or injected. Things like UC2 for inflammation, CH for joint comfort.
Plus, they seem to have a good safety profile, generally considered safe. The very idea that we could potentially help our bodies rebuild and protect cartilage using its natural building blocks is absolutely thrilling.
It is exciting, but there are always caveats, aren't there? The in vitro studies, the ones done in lab dishes, are much more mixed. Some found CH was ineffective or even harmful to OA cartilage cells.
Why the difference?
Well, the researchers point to the high variability in the peptide mixtures. You can't assume one type of CH will behave like another. That variability is key.
And the human trials, while positive, were often short-term or small.
Exactly. There's a real need for larger, longer-term, well-controlled trials to confirm these effects and figure out exactly how they're working. So potential is there, but more evidence is needed.
You're listening to OOTOTV with research by author Paul Bulow.
All right, let's tackle the big two, glucosamine and chondroitin. Probably the most well-known OA supplements.
Yeah, everyone seems to have heard of these. The theory for glucosamine is it provides building blocks for proteoglycans, helping repair cartilage.
And some early European trials, often company-sponsored, did suggest glucosamine sulfate might modestly slow down the narrowing of the joint space in the knee over several years.
And for chondroitin sulfate, similar idea. Some studies hinted it might also slow that joint space narrowing with long-term use.
Kind of. And then a more recent trial suggested the combination of the two might reduce joint space narrowing slightly, whereas individually they didn't show a significant effect in that particular study.
Okay, so some hints of benefit, but it sounds uncertain.
That's putting it mildly. This is where the contrary evidence really stacks up. The big NIH-funded G8 trial found glucosamine hydrochloride, whether alone or with chondroitin, was no better than a placebo for slowing cartilage loss.
That was a major study, wasn't it?
Huge. And meta-analyses looking at all the glucosamine studies find the effect is modest at best, and the data is really inconsistent.
So inconsistent that major guideline bodies don't recommend them.
Precisely. Both the American College of Rheumatology and the UK's NICE guidelines explicitly state they do not recommend glucosamine for OA, citing methodological issues and a lack of clear clinical benefit.
Wow. And that big systematic review you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the one covering 69 trials and nearly 12,000 people. It flat out concluded that glucosamine and chondroitin are not clinically effective in reducing pain and improving physical function at short term.
So, despite being incredibly popular, the hard evidence just isn't consistently there. It really drives home why choosing supplements needs to be evidence-based, not just based on what's common knowledge.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's shift to something with perhaps a stronger signal. Turmeric, or rather its active compound, curcumin.
Ah, yes, the anti-inflammatory spice. We know it works by reducing inflammatory signals, maybe through that NF-kappa pathway.
Exactly. And when you look at the research specifically for NEOA, a systematic review of 10 trials found all of them showed improvements in pain and function compared to baseline when using turmeric.
That's pretty consistent. And how did it stack up against NSAIDs?
That's the really exciting part. 3 of those studies directly compared turmeric to NSAIDs and found no significant difference in how well they managed pain and function.
No difference in effectiveness, but what about side effects?
That's the kicker. Across all the studies, there were no significant adverse events reported in the groups taking turmeric. It suggests it could be a much safer option, either used alone or alongside other treatments. It's truly exciting that a natural compound can offer comparable benefits to conventional drugs without the heavy side effects.
That is genuinely hopeful. But are there downsides or unknowns?
Well, the optimal dose, how often to take it, and the best formulation are still a bit unclear. Curcumin isn't absorbed very well naturally, so studies use different bio-optimized versions, making comparisons tricky.
And dosage matters for side effects too, right? I think one study found more issues with a higher dose.
Yes, exactly. While both high and low doses had similar benefits in that study, the high-dose group had significantly more side effects than placebo. So there's likely a therapeutic window to consider. Definitely needs more research to pin down the specifics.
Okay, what about some of the others? Hyaluronic acid, HA.
It's in supplements, but oral HA hasn't actually been studied in OA patients. The injections are used, yeah, but how they provide long-term relief when they don't stay in the joint long is still a bit of a mystery. ACR doesn't recommend it for knee or hip OA.
Right, and diacerine. Sounds like it has some plausible mechanisms in the lab.
It does, inhibiting IL-1, boosting growth factors, suggesting it could block cartilage breakdown and promote repair in vitro. But the clinical studies in people are inconsistent. Some show no effect on symptoms, others maybe some structural changes, but it's not clear-cut.
Okay. Avocado soybean, unsaponifiables ASU.
Similar story, really. Looks interesting in the lab, anti-inflammatory, might boost collagen synthesis, inhibit those MMP enzymes, but again, inconsistent results in human trials, though maybe some benefits for specific subgroups in hindsight analyses.
And then there are those emerging ones, like Boswellia.
Yeah, Boswellia serrata extract, pycnogenol, curcumin again. These often have only one or maybe a few small studies, but the results look promising for short-term pain and function. Moderate to large effects sometimes.
But the evidence quality is low.
Very low. It's likely that more research will change these initial findings. It's an area to watch, but definitely not established yet.
You're listening to OOTO TV with research by author Paul Bulow. Okay, let's try to pull all of this together. After going through the science, what are the big takeaways for understanding osteoarthritis?
Well, first off, it's undeniably complex, isn't it? It's chronic. It impacts mobility, causes pain, but also really affects mood and overall quality of life. That mix of mechanical, inflammatory, and metabolic stuff is key. Absolutely. And while the traditional drugs offer necessary relief, they often come with significant risks and side effects, that trade-off we discussed.
Which really underscores how understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements exponentially leverage mental and physical interaction. You need a strategy that considers the whole person, not just the joint pain.
And the supplement world offers some genuinely intriguing possibilities. Creatine, for instance, its muscle, bone, and anti-inflammatory benefits, especially with exercise. That's fascinating.
And collagen, the potential to maybe help the body repair its own cartilage using those building blocks.
Yeah.
Even with the need for more research, that concept is just so compelling.
Turmeric, too, standing out as a natural option, with evidence suggesting it can match NSAIDs for pain relief, but with a much better safety profile. That's a huge plus.
But then you have the popular ones, glucosamine and chondroitin, where the large-scale, high-quality evidence just doesn't seem to support widespread use for meaningful benefit.
It really hammers home that critical point again, choosing the type of vitamins and supplements for understanding osteoarthritis. Causes, treatments, and supplements has to be driven by solid evidence, pharmaceutical-grade thinking, not just marketing or popularity.
Which leads perfectly into the idea that understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements interaction require that you manage your diet specifically for your needs to both create and become smart and relaxed. It's about building that internal support system.
Right. But it's not just about what you eat or supplement with. Let's talk about movement and lifestyle, because that's hugely important and often underestimated.
It really is. And some of the research is surprising, like the studies on sports. We might assume all sports increase OA risk, but that's not true, is it?
Not at all. High-impact, high-torsion sports like soccer or basketball, yes, they carry a higher risk. But moderate exercise, walking, jogging, resistance training, functional stuff, that doesn't increase risk. It actually improves joint health.
And that study on long-distance runners was amazing. They ended up with less disability, better function, and no more OA than non-runners.
Plus, better heart health and less disability overall. It shows being active is protective in many ways.
And the mechanism makes sense. Movement helps produce synovial fluid, the joint's lubricant and nutrient supply. You need to move it to nourish it.
Of course, other factors matter too. Alignment issues like being bow-legged, previous injuries, joint instability, being overweight, muscle weakness, these all play a role.
But the power of simple, consistent movement. It's truly inspiring to see how simple, consistent movement, often dismissed as just exercise, can unlock such profound benefits for joint health, proving that sometimes the best treatment is within our own daily choices, empowering us to take control.
Absolutely. And the exercises don't have to be complicated. For hands, simple things like making a claw shape, bending the big knuckles, spreading fingers, using the other hand to gently stretch. That can make a real difference, especially with morning stiffness.
Knees just sitting and straightening the leg, maybe pulling the toes back, using a hand if needed. Simple flexion and extension.
Hips two-seated or standing marches, moving the leg out to the side, gentle rotations like you're squishing a bug under your foot or making small circles. It's about maintaining that range of motion.
It all comes back to that integrated approach, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Understanding osteoarthritis, causes, treatments, and supplements dependencies requires you to have a health plan, diet and daily eating and sleep routine, and process to provide the desired result for health. It all works together.
Definitely. And even after all this, there are still open questions, aren't there?
For sure. We desperately need more high-quality, long-term trials on supplements, understanding how they work, the best doses.
And this idea of OA phenotypes, different types of OA, that's really emerging. It suggests treatments will likely become much more personalized in the future, which is exciting. Research is constantly evolving.
So thinking about all this complexity, the mixed evidence, the potential for personalization, it leads to a final thought, doesn't it?
It does. Given the sheer complexity of osteoarthritis and the mixed yet often promising evidence for various interventions, how might future personalized medicine truly revolutionize health? Imagine a future where genetic insights, advanced lifestyle modifications, and targeted pharmaceutical grade supplements combine to create truly transformative health plans for individuals, shifting from management to real, sustained well being. It's a future worth investigating further, don't you think?